Hey everybody, Star 6 Wars 1 here, and welcome to my first video game review. For this one, we are taking a look at the game I most recently finished, Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Now, before I get into the review, I want to go into some minor backstory with my history with Castlevania. I first heard about Castlevania from the Angry Video Game Nerd. I don't know how many people on my channel have watched his videos, but I like the videos personally from time to time. Now, that's where I first heard of it, and I actually watched his Castlevania marathon quite often, and still sometimes go back to check it out. This is where I was first introduced in the Castlevania franchise, and where I eventually purchased the very first Castlevania game on the Wii Virtual Console. By the way, Castlevania is very known for being very hard games made back from the 80s, and trust me when I say this, the rumors are true. The first Castlevania has kicked my ass, and to be quite frank, it's the only other Castlevania game I've actually beaten. Yet, although it took me a very long time to do so. I still have yet to beat the Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest, which I bought more recently, and Super Castlevania 4, which I really like, but just haven't gotten to finishing it yet. Now, I've only not bought Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse, which would be the last of the first 4. Kinda weird, especially since that one is part of a prequel to the game I'm reviewing today, Symphony of the Night. But it's not the only one of the franchise. Alright, I think I've gone into enough history with it. Well, yeah, then I guess I should say where I became really interested in Castlevania Symphony of the Night, shouldn't I? I really became interested in this game after hearing a review of it from a reviewer known as Some Call Me Johnny. I'll leave a link in the description to his channel. Pretty awesome reviewer for video games, in my opinion. And he's got an awesome Let's Play channel. So that's awesome. Alright, now that I'm done ranting about my history with Castlevania, let's just go right into Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Now, Castlevania Symphony of the Night is the sequel to the game Castlevania Rondo of Blood, where you take control of a character named Victor Belmont and basically fight Dracula and all the monsters in there. And the first scene of the game is kind of like the last scene from Rondo of Blood, although apparently it's inaccurate. I've never played Rondo of Blood to check. I will someday, though, so look forward to that review or Let's Play eventually. But back to Symphony of the Night. After that, you take control of Alucard for 4 years later when the castle, or Dracula's castle, returns out of nowhere, and as Alucard, you are to find out why this is. By the way, this is the same Alucard from Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse. You could play as him in that game. Now, fortunately, he is much better in this game, and I'll explain why in a few minutes. The story continues on from there, and to be fair enough, the story is brought up a number of times, but it's never in your face. Unlike some other games, it's more so about the gameplay aspects and getting to your eventual goal. I kind of like that for the story, because it's very non-linear, and you don't have to pick and choose which events to do first, for the most part. Especially once you get in the second half of the game, though I won't go into any more spoilers than I already have. Well, yet at least. Next up are the characters, and I actually get to talk about characters this time because, yeah, there's actual character in this game. First up, we gotta mention this, the hilariously bad cutscenes of the original PlayStation version, and the version I bet most of you would be able to play. They are so laughably bad that I kind of enjoyed them. You know, you find certain dubs of anime that are so bad it's good. That's kind of what Castlevania Symphony of the Night's voice cast sounds like. It is so bad, it's good. And that just really intrigues me. it's got a certain charm to it. Something else about the thing is, although you have Richter Belmont for the first few minutes of the game, you take control of Alucard for the entire rest of the game. Now, personally, I really like Alucard, both as a character and as a gameplay standpoint. Although I'll get to that part in a minute. I do really like Alucard's character, and I think he's got the best voice actor. Even if he can be a little on the cheesy side sometimes. Quite frankly, the characters in this one are pretty good, although very simplistic. And you know what? For a video game that was made in 1997, that's not a bad thing. You can have simplistic characters, in my opinion, and you can get away with that stuff, as long as the game itself is good, and the story is good, and everything else is good. Luckily for us, the gameplay is fantastic. I am a big fan of the Metroid genre, of the Metroid franchise, not genre. And quite frankly, Metroid is one of my favorite game series, and this game has very Metroid feel, in a good way. It feels like playing a Metroid game, hence why Castlevania Symphony of the Night started a trend called Metroidvania games, which are pretty much Castlevania games based around Symphony of the Night, which feels very based around Metroid games. So that's good. I also like the controls of the game because, unlike other games, you have a hard time controlling each of the other characters from the other Castlevania games that I've played so far. Symphony of the Night has the best control of a Castlevania game yet, and I'm quite satisfied with that. Also, you also have RPG elements. You level up in the game. You can have different weapons in the game. The variety of the game is just so great. And you cannot beat bosses one way or another. I'll get to bosses in a minute. Quite frankly, the variety of the game is so great that I just enjoy it. However, the variety can lead to something with broken boss fights. The boss fights can be either very difficult or very easy, depending on how much you trained, what items you have equipped, and how good your skills are. So it's a test of your skill, and I quite enjoy that. Except for one boss, known as Galamoth. Towards the end of the game, you encounter this gigantic boss. I hate this boss with a passion, because guess what, guys? This is one of the hardest bosses of the game, and one of the hardest Castlevania bosses, period. Oh my god, this guy can be so freaking cheap. He is powerful as hell. His attacks can hit hard when you're not expecting them. And I think he's got so much health. Oh, I hate this boss. He's not the worst, but my god, he is a hard-ass boss to beat, and was frustrating as hell. Though after beating him, I made the game almost pathetically easy. Oops. The final thing I have to note with that boss is the final boss, and with the right weapon formation, you can so break the final boss. My god, he can become so easy with so little effort for Alucard if he's got the right equipment. Oh god, that final boss. Oh, I had a pathetic, easily timed defeat him with that weapon formation. I'll maybe explain in the description below, maybe not. If you ask me, I'll answer it, but I can't answer it in video format, sorry. Finally, I should mention the music, I guess. Well, actually, I've been going on and on about things. I forgot completely about the graphics, which are actually pretty good and have aged fairly well. Except for a few sprites here and there, which kinda look iffy, this being a 1997 game and all. But to give it credit where it's due, it looks better than some games even today, and I find, and the atmosphere is great, which is again surprising given previous games. Quite frankly, I just like the graphics. Now, truly onto music. The music is fantastic. Castlevania, in my opinion, has great music in its overall soundtrack, but this is by far my favorite of the soundtracks, and I quite enjoyed that. I've given this game a lot of praise, haven't I? Time to go into one negative I have with it, and it can be a game breaker. The game can be repetitious in the second half. I admit that the second half can be a pain in the ass to go through because you're pretty much going through the castle again upside down, and the enemies hit much harder than the last ones, and if you're unprepared you will be hurting hard. But yeah, the second half can be entirely painful to go through if you're not prepared right and in your first playthrough. It gets better in second or third, I think. Although one other thing I'll give the game is the fact that the game also has multiple endings. You wouldn't think this is a good or bad thing, but I rather like the idea of multiple endings. Although the best ending is considered the most canon, and I hate to say it, that it's very hard to get because you have to fill up the entirety of almost the entirety of not one but two maps, and that can be rather difficult sometimes due to some cheap bullshit. See, filling out the map is another complaint I have. I recommend looking up a map online to see where you might find a better option for that, because you can easily find maps for Castlevania Symphony of the Night. And quite honestly, that's my way of going about it for your first try or two. So look up a map at your leisure. Overall, I had a ball playing this game. It's fun, it's addictive, it's got a great replay value. Oh, and speaking of replay value, you can even play as Richter Belmont after you've beaten the game. How awesome is that? Quite frankly, this is a very awesome game, and I can see why the previously mentioned Some Call Me Johnny really likes this game a lot. I gotta thank him for getting me into this game because, quite frankly, I probably wouldn't have played it without him. I give Castlevania Symphony of the Night a 9 out of 10. It's a great game that I'm not unhappy to play and is now my favorite of the Castlevania franchise. Anyways, that's all from me. This has been Star 6 Wars 1, and I'll see you guys next time.